Howdy folks, I'm Jovial Jelly, jokingly jesting about janky jorts.
I'm Amber.
And here are more janky jorts for us to joke about. Haha, look at those jorts, how silly and janky they are. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for locking the car door and saying that my husband will never drive my car again? My husband has a horrible habit of leaving the keys in the car. He claims that he's doing it after he lost his keys on a few occasions, and it was just easier to know where they would be. I've told him before that this is really a bad idea and encouraged him to stop. I got him a couple of those little tags that tell you where you left your keys, etc. He continued to do it until he ended up getting his car stolen. Insurance barely paid him enough for him to get a new car, and it wasn't anywhere near as nice as the other one. I thought that he had learned his lesson, as he seemingly stopped leaving the keys behind. His car was getting serviced one day, so I let him borrow mine. I get a notification on the app a little while later telling me that the car was left unlocked. Thinking that maybe my husband had just forgot to lock it himself, I tried calling him to go get the keys, but he didn't answer his phone. So I locked the door using the app. A couple hours later, I get a frantic call from my husband saying that he can't get into the car. I asked where the keys are. He said that he left them in the car and must have locked the door accidentally. I told him that I locked the door with the app. I then tried to unlock it, but it took a few minutes and the app wasn't working. Finally, the door was unlocked and my husband could get the keys. He returned home not long after, mad at me for locking the door, saying that it was my fault that this happened. I said that it was his fault for leaving the keys in the car, and he shouldn't have done that. When I asked why he did it, he said that he was afraid of losing my keys. I said that I have a backup set of keys, which he knows about. I care more about the car. Yes, it has a tracker on it, and I have insurance, but that doesn't mean that I want to put myself in that situation where it goes missing. I said that going forward, he isn't allowed to use my car. I make the payments on my own account just as he pays for his car with his own money. At this point, he can't be trusted. If he needs a ride, I'll drive him, or he can use a rideshare app. My husband is calling me petty and saying that I'm being overdramatic, but I really don't think that I am, given that he's continuing to make the same mistake as before. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. You made your expectations for your car very clear. Don't leave the keys in the ignition. He's even had a car stolen before of this, so it's not like he doesn't know the consequences, but he'd rather just keep leaving the keys in the ignition for convenience.
Yeah, there are some places where you can leave your keys unattended in the car, and that's perfectly fine. But there are places where you can't, and this is clearly an area where OP and their husband cannot leave their keys in the car. And I think that it's pretty awful that he would go behind OP's back and do this when he knows the consequences of this, or the potential consequences.
Right. I mean, he's risking her car, which she pays for. Like, if this gets stolen and they don't get it recovered, then she's going to be the one going through insurance, getting a new car, doing all the legwork, you know. She's perfectly within her right to have boundaries about how her vehicle is used.
Yeah. So what do you think if the situation had been a little bit different? Like in this particular situation, she didn't mean to lock him out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
She assumed that he had the keys with him, and she was just going ahead and locking the door behind him.
Mm-hmm.
If she had done this knowing that he had not put the keys in the car, do you think that that would have been wrong of her?
I mean, it would depend on the situation. As long as it's not like, you know, he's stranded somewhere where it's freezing cold. Like, you know, there could be situations where, due to the circumstances, it would be an issue. But if, assuming that temps are fine, he's in an area where, you know, he can go places and whatnot, I don't think that she would be in the wrong, because she made it very clear to him, and this was the one thing not to do, and he went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair assessment. I really do. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Vibe with Cat says, not the jerk. You warned him multiple times and he still didn't listen. It's reasonable to set boundaries when he keeps putting your car at risk. And Little Tato Cakes says, and he got one of his cars stolen due to his dumb idea. If he's not bright enough to walk in the door and then put them next to the door, or get a clip and clip them to his pants, then he's not bright enough to be responsible for someone else's car. I mean, I don't know. I think that sometimes people forget. Sometimes people make
Right.
mistakes, and this may have even been like an absent-minded thing where he's just used to it, muscle memory.
It could be, but like at this point in time, like OP is well within our right not to let him use it, even if it's still muscle memory.
Yeah. All right, folks. And our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for being furious with my pregnant wife over a prank?" I'm a 31-year-old male, and I've been with my wife Lisa since college, and she's currently 7 months pregnant with our first baby. My wife Lisa is witty and likes to play jokes on me. For example, she likes to pass off fake facts and stories as real and see if I'll believe them. Lisa was a theater kid, so she's great at acting and selling these stories. I used to fall for her pranks all the time since I'm gullible and she's so convincing. However, now that I've been with her for so many years, I can typically tell when she's messing with me. She's upped her antics over the years, and so she can occasionally get me into believing one of her jokes. Today, when I got home from work, Lisa had tears in her eyes and she told me that she needed to talk to me about something. I was seriously worried and I sat down with her immediately. I asked what was wrong several times, and she kept saying that it was hard to talk about and that she was terrified that I would leave her. I kept pressing, and she told me that she had an affair with her boss several months ago and wasn't sure if the baby was mine. I asked if she was serious, and she said that she was 100% serious and started crying even harder. I got up, I started pacing and trying to gather my thoughts. After a few minutes, Lisa burst into laughter and said that she was just joking. I was furious. I said that it wasn't funny in the slightest to make jokes about cheating and the child not being mine. Lisa then said that she was a bit offended that I believed that specific prank and not several others. She said that she couldn't believe that I actually thought that she would cheat on me. She then got teary and asked why I didn't trust her. I asked why I would trust her after she pulled that prank on me, managed to cry, telling me about it, and then continued with the prank even though I was visibly upset. Lisa said that it was harmless and that I was blowing things way out of proportion. She continued to ask why I didn't trust her, and I told her that I needed some space. I ended up going to a speakeasy and have been away from the house ever since. Even though Lisa has called several times, I know it was a prank, but I think that this joke went way too far, especially with the tears. I was also clearly upset, as anyone would be, and she should have stopped as soon as she realized that I was actually falling for it. Usually Lisa's jokes are funny, but this one really got to me for some reason. Am I the jerk and am I overreacting? I feel bad because she's very pregnant with my child and I don't want her to stress, but I need some space right now. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. This is not the type of thing you joke about. Like, sometimes Brian will try and convince me of ridiculous facts, but it's never something that I'm emotionally attached to or tied into. It's just something random, and he very quickly tells me that it's not true.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what most of the wife's jokes have been like, and OP was okay with them. But this is something goes into the territory of like emotional manipulation right here. You know, telling someone something to get a rise out of them is very different from telling someone something, just kind of silly and to see if they'll buy it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is actually some kind of psychological like trick that she's trying to pull, right? Because now she's put it out there that she is pregnant with another man's child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means that he now, if he ever questions this in the future, she can pull the "it was just a joke. Why do you not trust me" card, right? And guilt him into not wanting to test the child or getting a paternity test on the child, right?
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, at this point in time, I would be going through her phone.
Yeah.
I would not trust this person, for doing something so insensitive. And then doubling down and acting like, oh, P's the one in the wrong, not accept. Because if you say something as a joke and it's really hurtful, it's still incumbent on you to be like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I didn't think you would react like this.
Yeah.
I never should have done that. Like, she didn't do any of that. She doubled down. She was like, it starts crying, saying that OP's in the wrong for believing her.
I mean, how do we know that she was actually crying here? Why? How do we know that these weren't just more crocodile tears, right? And we've already seen that she can manipulate OP emotionally. What other things, how else is she able to act and mask her emotions and feelings, right? People need to see a sincere emotional reaction out of people. And when you can't even trust someone's emotional reactions to things, you know that they can and will use those emotional reactions against you. How can you build a trusting relationship with that individual, right?
Right. Well, and that's the thing is it doesn't seem like there is trust in this relationship at this point in time, because she is, proving herself untrustworthy.
Yeah. So I mean, this maybe, and I'm just hoping that this is a one-time thing and that she just exercised extremely poor judgment. But if I were OP at this point in time, I would be questioning whether or not she was actually lying and whether she was just trying to pull reverse psychology on me or something like that. To
Mm-hmm.
be quite frank, I think this would make me more suspicious than I ever would have been
Oh yeah.
otherwise.
Well, it would have totally planted the idea in my mind for like I'd be like I wasn't thinking this before, but now I'm wondering.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Cutting Off My Mother-in-Law After She Made a Joke About Poking Holes in Our Condoms? I'm a 38-year-old female and I've been together with my husband James for 4 years. We are both child-free and do not intend to have kids in the future. When we first got married, we both told our family about how we didn't want to have kids and why. My family was fine with it, but his wasn't, especially my mother-in-law, who will call Mary for privacy. She's either passive-aggressive or just tells us that we'll change our minds soon. For example, telling us that I can't wait to be a grandma, despite us not wanting children. If we try to say otherwise, she'll just pretend not to hear us. I've been very uncomfortable with this, and I've told my husband multiple times, but he just brushed it off, saying that she'll accept it someday. However, it's reached a limit. Recently, James was hosting a dinner party and invited his family as well as mine. While we were eating, mother-in-law jokingly said, "You know, OP, I've considered poking holes into you and James's condoms so that I could be a grandma. It's so smart and you would never know." Before laughing, I was horrified. After that, I excused myself and I left the house. James followed after me, saying that I was being dramatic and it was a joke. I told him that it wasn't a joke and what would happen if she actually did it. We kept arguing for a bit before he stormed back into the house and drove off in my car. I've blocked my mother-in-law on all social media and deleted her number. The whole family is furious at me now, calling me sensitive and paranoid. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, and there is an update to this one. Am I the jerk update? Thank you all for your support. Hi guys, I thought that I would give you an update. So after everything happened last night, I had a talk with my husband about how I want him to take the deeper steps into his commitment of being child-free. I've also told him that unless he gets a vasectomy or similar procedure, that I will not be having intimate time with him. I want him to do this to prove that he can stand up to his mother and that he is just as child-free as I am, but honestly, I've doubted that after posting the first story. Not in a rude way, of course. My husband told me that still he wasn't ready yet and that I was moving too fast. And by asking him to stand up to his mother, I was basically asking him to disrespect her for my sake. So then I asked him if he wanted kids or not, and to stop batting around the bush because I will divorce him and disappear like the wind if he doesn't. Then I finally got him to open his mouth. And then he told me that he did want kids and that he was just secretly hoping that for either an accident to happen or for me to change my mind, like how most of you guys in the comments predicted. But what really shocked me is that he told me that he had already considered tampering with our birth control before, but he just hadn't found it in him to do it yet. So now it makes sense why he only wanted to use condoms for our birth control. After that, I simply said that as of now, this marriage is over and that I will be filing for divorce as fast as possible. And I made sure to tell him that whatever possible child I could have had would never be in his grasp to see him, especially my mother-in-law. He tried to protest, but I was firm on leaving. Honestly, he was pretty much planning to baby trap me. Nice try, but not here, honey. As of now, I'm currently staying at my sister's house. Soon, I'm going to try and find a divorce lawyer. But I do know that I can't ever go back to the house with him or my mother-in-law. This entire event has left me shaken and worried. All right, folks, what do you think of that?
I am so sorry for OP to be going through this situation. When I read the first story before the update, I got the sense that he was secretly wanting kids too. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that he had practically stooped to the level of baby trapping. I'm so glad that OP is getting out of there before he could actually sabotage their birth control, uh, because that's just horrible. Reproductive coercion is not okay, it's a
Yep.
crime, and it is a horrible thing to do to someone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really what this boils down to at the end of the day. Both the husband and the mother-in-law were joking about reproductive coercion, which is assault, right? This is not something to joke about. It's not funny to tell people you're going to assault them, right? And I think that this is just a terrible situation for OP because now they've built a life with this individual who wasn't sincere for a long time about what they wanted.
And we're willing to go behind their backs and tamper with their birth control.
Yeah. And what's to say that because like OP, they said they were 37 or something like that?
Yeah,
That kind of concerns me in the respect that while he hadn't sabotaged their birth control yet, it does sound like he was seriously considering it. And given that OP was, kind of getting older, who's to say that he wouldn't have taken steps into his own hands here to actually go ahead and do this, right?
yeah, well, exactly. Like it seems like it was a matter of time thing more than anything. He hadn't worked up the nerve to do it yet, but he was going to when he wanted to.
Yeah, and what's to say that mother-in-law wouldn't have gone behind their back and done it anyways,
Right,
right?
maybe done it for him
Yeah.
if he couldn't bring himself to do it.
I mean, who's to know? Who's to say that they hadn't had conversations about this before,
I mean,
right?
I'm sure it sounds like he and his mom are pretty close. I'm sure he probably complained about OP not having kids yet.
Yeah. So it's a tragic situation for OP, but I'm glad she's out of that relationship. And I think the moral of the story is if you want kids and your partner does not want kids, then you need to find a different partner, right? You are
Right.
incompatible at that point in time. Doesn't matter how perfect the person is in any other way. Kids are a two yes, one no type of situation, right?
Exactly, exactly. And if you feel like your life will only be complete with kids, or that you do not want kids and your partner feels the opposite way, there's no room for compromise. You can't have a kid and not like it's not like Schrodinger's child, you
Yeah.
know.
You can't have half a child here. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
I have a construction joke to tell, but I'll wait. I'm still working on it.
But it, and I have Mega Mint. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Manic Monday, folks. I hope your Monday is off to a great start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on pranks.
Pranking someone about pregnancy is probably not a good move in most situations, and reproductive coercion is never a prank.
Yes, exactly. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!